Hi, my name's Dee, your Professor of Woo Woo, and welcome to Untitled Tarot. And of course, we have an excellent full moon coming up. So we have with us Astrologer David Fischer. David, how are you doing?
I'm fine, Dee. How are you?
I'm great. Now, let's dive straight into this full moon. So the way I see it, full moons are about completion. And we're at 28 degrees, 13 minutes of Pisces, so the penultimate degree of the zodiac. So that's about completion. Plus, we have a very nice sextile with Pluto, which is about endings and completion. So it's all good, yes? Oh, and looking at the decans, this is ruled by the 10 of Cups. So obviously, it's all good.
Yeah, overjoying. No, but it's a nice full moon overall because you have some nice aspects that will allow us to have more clarity around areas that were previously shadowy in our personalities and in the ways that we went about achieving what we desired. But more on that in a minute. What I'm going to talk about first is what you were mentioning about it being in the penultimate degree of the zodiac.
Yeah.
Because you see, full moons are about completion because when you think of it, the moon is like an idea. The moon is like something that stimulates your senses and inspires you to do something or to look in a certain direction because it's calling out to you. Differently than the sun, because the sun is an image, is something that shines a light on everything else and allows you to see. The moon is sound. It allows you to feel things. So as it grows apart from the sun during the lunations after the new moon, it starts gaining light, and thus this new idea starts gaining form. We start seeing that new idea through the consciousness that the sun brings. And so we're mixing sound and light. Once they oppose each other and the full face of the moon is shown, then it's as if that idea has presented itself in its completion. So it's as if you had a movie and the whole plot of the movie is finally revealed at that moment, even though it's not the end of the movie yet. You already know what was going on from the beginning, whereas earlier you didn't. And then you can move forward. So since this is happening, this completion, this showing of the idea by the end of the zodiac, almost the very end, we can say that the idea of this full moon is of endings and is that of completing certain ideas that we had about finishing stuff. Remember, we've been talking all these past full moons and new moons about how we are completing this process after COVID and after our society shifted everything around, and we're heading now into the new. It's a long process, as I've mentioned a couple of times before, because we're talking about these slower moving planets that are very much connected to all of this, the square that's ongoing between Uranus and Saturn, bringing us this whole dynamic worldwide. But this new moon is this full moon is talking about us getting to terms with our own capacity to adapt to those things. So in the new moon in Virgo, I mentioned how we were going to experience this rush of ideas, of optimism, because things were going well. We were thinking that there would be several options to resolving situations and whatnot. So, but I also mentioned that as the full moon approached, we were going to clearly see that the multiplicity was there mostly to motivate us to keep moving forward and not to become a goal, you know?
Yeah.
And this full moon is showing us which of these ideas that we have invested in are really the ones that we should follow. And it's not showing that because it's showing us a clear path. It's basically the sun in Virgo is showing us with the full moon in Pisces, everything that we need to know that we don't want, and that is harmful to us. And now we know precisely. Yes?
You have just clicked something into place for me. The degree angel for the 28 degrees Pisces is Hayel, who is about prophecy and parallel universes, and it represents a divine warrior or divine weaponry. So the divine weaponry is the ideas that we are taking. The prophecy and parallel universes is that revelation of, if you do this, this is the path that will happen. If you do this, this is the path that will happen. And I suppose that is backed up to a great extent by the Sabian symbol of this degree, which is, if I can quote it correctly, let me just find through my notes, light breaking into many colors as it passes through a prism.
Yes.
So it's like all the potential paths are spread out in front of us, and we get to choose which one we actually want to go on.
Yes, but differently than a Seven of Cups energy, where you would expect not to be sure of which path to follow because they're too multiple. That was more of a feeling that was happening on the new moon. Now on the full moon, it's like we've come to the decision of which of these paths is the one that's going to lead us to the Ten of Cups, right? Yeah. Which means the fulfillment of our own desires, the things that we have been planting all this past year. And let me think.
Desires or contemplations? Because we've been doing all this planning for most of this year and considering and reviewing and looking at the, what do I want? Okay, do I really want that? Well, how can I make it better? How is it going to go horribly wrong? Right, let's go and focus on what I want now. Do I really want that? And
all
that's
of that.
The story of all the moons as we've gone along.
Yes, and it has to be like that, because we were previously in a kind of system that was leading us towards something, because we desired to belong to that system in a way that made us comfortable. But that system no longer exists, and thus this person that wanted those things in the past has to be adapted and has to change, regenerate into a new doctor, I would say, if you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, leave it. But you do have to go through that process now, and it's like, for you Whovians out there, if you've seen the end of the 4th season of the new generation of Doctor Who, you will know that there was a resistance from that particular doctor to go away, and you will know why. Now it's that moment. It's that moment of transition from the 4th season to the 5th season of Doctor Who. For those of you who know what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't, it's just this showing of a completely new life. And completely new set of desires that come from all this planning. Because what you didn't realize is that the whole planning thing that you were doing, that you had to adapt, because you were seeing, okay, I'm trying to fix this old planning into the new reality. But now the new reality has adapted my plan to a new plan. And so now I have to adapt myself to a new person, because I realize that what I want cannot be contemplated by my old self. And I've realized that I'm not my old self anymore because I want to contemplate that. Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely. And there's a window here about not just adapting in blindness, because we've got the illumination, and I'll get onto the goetic spirits in a moment, but the degree head channeled by Franz Baden for this degree is Ilemis. Now, this degree head reveals to the mature magician, i.e. someone who's put the work in, the most secret mysteries of the love divine, and helps makes him realize its range of power in the mental, astral, and physical plane. And that we'll touch on that note of physicality later, because that is quite, I've seen that in the chart. But from the magical Kabbalistic point of view, the realization of this divine love must naturally create within the magician a feeling of happiness, which brings him up to the highest grades of ecstasy. So, in light of my recent interview with Nicole Stevens, this full moon is an excellent opportunity to either raise your vibration or affirm to yourself that you are in the process of raising your vibration.
Yes, and there is a very interesting connection to Venus in what you're saying right now, because Venus, I realize we haven't shared the the chart at all. So here's the chart for the full moon, folks. So sorry, you have here Venus being, and this is from my location, so never mind the houses, but Venus is in the superior trine position to the moon, and the moon exalts Venus. Why? Because the moon is in Pisces, the sign of Venus is exaltation, but Venus is in detriment, which means that whatever the moon is exalting, whatever the moon considers its highest possible expression within that sign, is being dictated by that superior influence of a frustrated Venus. So there is that sense of everything has been made anew. I don't know what my desires are, but I know what they're not. And I know it's not supposed to happen anymore. And I know what I want to part myself from in order to achieve new levels of understanding how to fulfill my own desires. And it has to do what you were talking about of the magician being revealed to these secrets of the divine, because we have to do the work. We have to do the work to negate our own previous desires, our previous comforts, to be able to, in the discomfort, understand what we actually want in order to be more stable, right?
Now, there's a message in that as well, because one of the ways that you can say about this, once we're considering all that and actually take action upon it, that is akin to the process of initiation. Here's your lessons, you've learnt your lessons, you want to move forward into your lesson, into not just learning them, but into living them. Now, the Baden degree head for where Venus is, 11 degrees Scorpio, is an entity called Sagara, who is listed as the initiator of all magicians. The magician who has got into contact with Sagara gets valuable instruction on how to influence man and animal in the magical as well as the Kabbalistic or theurgic manner. So it's not, there's that symbol of not just you accepting the changes that are within you and stepping into your divine warrior form, to quote the angel of the degree angel of the previous of the moon, but having that water droplet effect, that ripple out from what it is that you choose to take on board.
Yes. There's something interesting about that in the Vedic tradition, because they call Venus Shukra, and that is the deity that is the guru for demons, or for, and when I say demons, it's not in the Christian sense, you guys, please, but and Jupiter would be the other benefic, would be the guru of the divine or of the gods, or something like that, which would mean your higher faculties, right? In a more terrain sense. Venus, in equal manner, would be the deity that guides us through our more heavenly, through our more earthly perceptions, through our senses, but is still trying to guide us towards something that is going to allow us to control our demons, or to be conscious of our impulses, of our unconscious desires and things like that. But you have to make an effort to love Venus while she's in detriment. You will want and try, because it's an opposite energy. Venus doesn't like to be in Scorpio, but you still have to deal with it. When a planet is not well placed, it just means that you have to pay more attention to it. You have to love it more. When a child is sick, it needs even more attention than naturally you have to give to it, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. When someone is sick, they need your attention more than they normally do. Venus is like that. Mars is like that at the moment. So it's a very difficult time, in the sense that we are feeling such frustration, but people need to get used to that frustration and use it as a fuel to love themselves more. And by loving themselves more, what? As a motivational force. Yes, and that's the 10 of Cups energy that will allow them to see that whatever they saw before as a necessity, as something that was needed in order to accomplish something else, is actually just them trying to attach themselves to something that didn't work and that's frustrating them. And now life is kind of calling us into another direction. And that's why this one is frustrating, because we need to look elsewhere. But that requires this, willpower to leave things behind. And
now I've just looked up the inside degree symbol for 11 Scorpio for Venus. Now, this definitely has harmonies in what you are saying, because Scorpio 12, so 11 degrees Scorpio, a young man with a frail body but a beautiful and noble face. Now, there's immediately just hearing that you've got that image of Doctor Who about to regenerate.
Right.
But the commentary upon it says old roots crumbling, new self emerging.
Well,
historical underpinnings not very strong. Understandable. It's a new time. We're annoyed and frustrated with everything that has gone past. The vision of what can be burns bright and clear. You have been held back a long time by questions about health and safety, viability and durability, always seeming on the way out. Yet the internal image of who you are intended to become, looms large and seeks to be incarnated. The battle between what could never be and what must be emerges. The underlying feeling tone is that somehow, barely, despite all the odds, the infinite one can be born directly into the shell of the one who could not be, and then all bets are off. Absolutely anything is possible.
Well, with that, we are going to leave. No, I'm joking. But that was basically the message that we need to take from this full moon. It's amazing because we hadn't read this before. I didn't know that you were going to read this. That's amazing. That's amazing because it's exactly what I was thinking, like word by word. Yeah. Now, but I want to mention other factors of this chart just to make it clearer for you.
I've got more. I've just noticed the degree angel for this degree, Lelahel, about dream state and light of understanding. Now, we was talking about how full moons are about completion, but there's another aspect to the image of the full moon, and that's the image of revelation, of bringing light to things, like I think you mentioned actually earlier in our discussion. Now, as I've mentioned before, the goetic spirits have each got 5-degree arcs, like they have, like the angels have as well, or they have decans each where they rule by day or by night. Now, by night, this full moon is really interesting because it is both in the decan or by night and in the 5-degree arc of the spirit Andromalius. He's the 72nd spirit of the Goetia, so the final spirit. He is an earl, great and mighty, appearing in the form of a man holding a great serpent in his hand. So even on that thing, there's the image of the wisdom, the image of energy as well, because that great serpent you can also liken to, say, the Kundalini, that sort of aspects. His office is to bring both back a thief and the goods which be stolen, and to discover all wickedness and underhand dealings, and to punish all thieves and other wicked people, and also to discover, and here's the really important bit, treasures that be hid. So we can expect, I think, I mean, like, we haven't had enough revelations this year.
No, it's amazing what you said about the treasures. Sorry.
No, go on.
Say? You didn't realize what the treasures, the connection to Pluto, because Pluto is the lord of the underworld, and we are talking about Capricorn. Saturn, of course, was the previous planet that ruled everything that was under the earth, and the secrets that the earth reveals to you: bones, oil, jewels, anything that comes from the depths and that was created from the pressures of the mantle of the earth. These things are ruled by Pluto now, but they are also the domain of Saturn. And here we have Pluto in Saturn's sign, an earth sign at that, and sextile this full moon. So it does have the feeling that we are going to be revealed with some information. differently from the new moon, where we were starting to get acquainted with this energy of, okay, there's a lot of multiplicity, but I'm feeling that I need to focus on something in particular. I just don't quite know what it is yet. With a full moon, you can expect to know. And that's the thing, because you've seen, it's like you were seeing through elimination process during this past few weeks. I know I have, because I had a multiplicity of ideas that were being called out one by one, pulled out one by one until something was left standing, right? And that's the idea right now. Look at what's left standing in front of you as sure, as safe, as the thing you desire the most. Even though you don't know how it's going to end, you know that the path towards that thing is the one that's been most rewarding. And that's the wording that I'm using here is because of Venus.
Yes.
And that's being guided by your desires in that good sense, in that good Venusian sense.
We're both getting quite excited here because I've got more. Yes. So for the 5-degree arcs of the angels, it's Mumia, who is about spiritual cleansing, endings, and rebirth. So again, we've got that symbol of, so I'm going to have to call this video, I think, Rebirth, a full moon of rebirth and regeneration, because, you know, it's there, that whatever it is that you truly desire and you know that isn't chopping yourself off at the knees, whatever that one thing that is left is, that making the decision to go for that is that initiation that Venus and Elemis is, not Elemis, sorry, Sagara is promising. And Mumia is like, oh, go on, go on, have a nice spiritual clean, and there's a nice rebirth you.
Yes, the spiritual clean, I think also that's a good hint. That's a good tip. You can tell people to try and do new things, especially today. I mean, I'm not sure if the video is coming out today, but today's the 17th, and we have this connection along the day that the moon is going to make to Uranus. It's going to make this square to Uranus, activating that dynamic between Saturn and it. And later it's going to trine Mercury in Libra. So it's two destabilizing influences, these planets. But she's being received by Saturn in Aquarius, and she's going to also apply to Jupiter right after. So these destabilizations, if you choose to do them consciously, are going to direct you towards something that's revealing some better way of understanding reality around you, and in a way that makes you feel like your path is opening up more clearly in front of you. And I'm saying that because of Jupiter, but also, and this is for today, but also because of the trine aspect to Mercury. It means that we are coming to realizations in our head. It means that we are feeling the feeling the multiplicity through the new things that we choose to do consciously. So do stop what you're doing today to try and tomorrow to try and do different things. Go have a drink at a different cafe. Go have a walk in a different park. Go or don't do any of those things. Stay home, read the whole day if you must, because you are always working. Do differently and do it for your pleasure, unapologetically. You have to do that. And I say you have to because that's honoring Venus and Scorpio. Venus and Scorpio is more individualistic. It's not in the nature of Venus, but Venus will try to look for pleasure in things that are more Martian. So try to isolate yourself. Try to focus on your individuality a little bit, and you're going to benefit from that because Mars is also in Libra. That mutual reception of them, or the generosity rather, between them, that relationship is going to allow us to, in this more individualistic perspective, not excluding everyone else because they don't matter, but learning that at this point it's better for you to focus on what you want so you can be more sure of who you want around you, when and why.
And conversely, picking up on what you said at the first half of that as well, if something falls apart in your life under the light of this full moon, welcome it. It's a good sign.
Yes, allow it. It has to go. It has to move out. I know I've had things that
Yeah.
yeah. For example, I had fights with people that were close to me that I thought were going to stick with me for the rest of my life in the past week. And it was a huge fight that I didn't see coming at all. And I didn't expect to happen like that. But so much filth was exposed from that particular relationship that it was just impossible to bear it anymore. And it was a very abusive situation for years and years and years. And now it's gone. Poof. I don't feel it anymore rooted in me, because it was the last straw. And this is the kind of thing that's been going on, especially because Venus is also square to Uranus. Opposite to Uranus and squaring Saturn. I think that because Venus rules Uranus, I know that because Venus rules Uranus, it's going to make it more clear to us. This dynamic between Uranus and Saturn is going to show us why the hell has Uranus been bugging Saturn all year. It's going to clearly show us the twisted intentions that were not previously talked about, that were covered up with lace and how do you call it, icing and all of that. You have to look at the ugly and call it for what it is. Call it out for what it is.
I'm just having a look at the symbols for Jupiter.
I'm going to also say
fearlessness, inner and outer work from the degree angel Menadel. So yes, Jupiter is certainly encouraging us to take stock of everything that's falling apart, and like you say, those desires that, whether they are the desire or the desire that's actually just been getting on your nerves and needs to be got rid of.
And don't worry, you are going to feel very pressured to fight things and to go against things. Don't do that. Don't waste your energy trying to uphold anything, trying to prove yourself. Just observe the things that are falling apart around you and avoid them, and try to direct yourself towards the things that really matter. That doesn't mean that you should ghost people that are bugging you. Be very clear. State your intentions very loud and clear for them to understand. And if they still don't respect it, then you can walk away. Turn your back on them and don't talk to them again, because they are trying to hold you back. So, but don't fight. Mars in Libra with the Sun is not a good time for you to, especially with Venus in Scorpio, it's not a good time for you to go about confronting people right, left, and center. You're going to feel very exhausted if you do so, because it's already consuming a lot of energy going in and doing the inner work to realize what's going on around you. So focus on that. Don't let yourself be ruled by the demons that are trying to stop people from doing what they're doing to you. Instead, focus on you and avoid the things that are trying to steal your energy, basically.
There's a harmony on that point as well, because this decan, to use Spencer Michaud's way of looking at the daimons, this decan is ruled by the Titan Oceanus. And one of the things with Oceanus is that he did not get involved in the Titanomachy, or the war against the Titans. He was like, no, you lot go and do what you're doing. I'm just going to stay over here. I'm not siding with my brothers. I'm not siding with the Olympians. Nothing to do with me. Thank you very much. I am the ocean. Leave me alone.
That's it. That's basically it. Perfect.
Right. What else have we got going on?
I'm going to mention Mercury Retrograde, because it's going to station pretty close to a trine to Jupiter later on in this cycle. And it's going to station at 25 degrees of Libra. It's going to dance around Speaker. So it's really downloading that star power, that fixed star power from the heavens. And it's a benefic star, by the way, in the constellation of Virgo, in the sign of the tropical sign of Libra, around 23, 24 degrees, I think. And that particular star is going to bring us so many good downloads, creative downloads, if you can, because that star is already associated with writing. During Mercury stationing, in your rituals, try to always have a pen and paper to write down whatever downloads you have. This is going to be supremely important at this point, because you can use these mercurial tools to download this star quality that is going to bring you more awareness and more gifts, and it's going to open your path towards what you want more. So when we see in the sky a planet with a determined fixed star, we know that if we do the job, the work of that planet, we are going to get the influence of that star with it. And this is a benefic star. It's one that you want to take advantage of, not to start anything new or buy electronics or anything like that, because Mercury is still retrograde. So don't. But what I'm saying by this is do the inner work, trying to use mercurial tools. That can also mean trying to get together with friends without any, large groups, because we're still in the middle of a pandemic. Don't lose it, people. Still stay aware. Even if your government's telling you that everything is fine, don't trust them. They're lying to you because they have their own interests. Please study. So go study to understand what they're doing. You need to, if you don't. But in what's possible, try together with like-minded people and have deep conversations about how you see life. Really, try to establish with your friends, what's the meaning of friendship to you? Why do you think that way? Because people don't generally ask these questions of themselves and their friends, and that can actually help you to understand why you have the friends you have, why you like them, and why you like them, why you are like them. See the word like. It has in English, it has this meaning of I like you or I am like you. It means that you identify with, right? It means that it moves similar to the way you move in the universe. And it's awakening something inside of you that you are attracted to and that you want to develop in your personality. This is friendship. And this is also, it has to do a lot with Venus, but Mercury is it's bringing consciousness. It's making you understand how you're like that person and how not, right? Just figure out the similarities. So do that. It's going to help with the whole confusion that Mercury generally brings when it's, doing its thing. Mars and the Sun together there with Libra, are going to give us this sense of urgency that you need to keep in check. Is as Dee said, even if everyone around you is falling apart, and even if the world is going to shit, you still have to keep your cool. This is important. You have to, and I'm not saying this because you have to be controlled at all times and composed. No, not at all times. But this one in particular is very tricky. It is a difficult time, right? We have planets, superior planets, stationing direct, so they're very slow in this time, meaning there's a lot of focus in one thing and one thing only, or one direction only, and they're trying to solve that. And the other planets are debilitated. Venus is debilitated, Mercury is going to be debilitated by the retrogradation, the Sun is debilitated, Mars debilitated, and that's already more than half of the traditional planets. So you got the whole sky paying attention and going inwards in order to bring out the new and to really spew out everything that's not needed anymore. And this is going to be a final work. So this particular full moon, I would say, completes this whole thing that we've been going through since the beginning of the year. And then the middle of the year, it kind of developed whatever it was. And now we are closing this chapter that we've been living through since the beginning of the year and going into the actual new normal, as they are trying to call it. But it's not a new normal. It's a new chaotic world that we are now finally used to and finally able to adapt our consciousness to, if we're lucky, in order to become more adapted and the new us that will live in this new world.
The image I'm getting from what you're saying and from the symbols that I was looking at it's like coming up to the final episode of a series where you know there's going to be another series, but
Yes.
you are changing everything for the new status quo. So the next season is people now living in this new status quo. Now, everything, I want to pick up on that point of confusion, because everything that we've been talking about has implied an immense amount of clarity despite Mercury retrograde coming up.
Yes.
But before I do that, I want to just look at the North Node, which is not really speaking to anything else apart from Mars. So
It's
let
an
me see.
exact trine to Mars.
3, 4, yeah, so it's a trine. Now, that's at 4 degrees Gemini, and I just had a quick look at the I obviously haven't done all my work. I've only got a couple of symbols listed for this one. But the inside degree or Chandra symbol is an immense tortoise with jewels inlaid on its back. Now, that doesn't say anything to me immediately, apart from I always think of, I get turtles and tortoises mixed up in my head. So I immediately think of Pennywise the clown, because its natural enemy was the turtle. Or you're going to, the Discworld novels where everything's on the back of a turtle or tortoise. But the commentary that comes with it is quite interesting. Consciousness flagrantly and outrageously running off to infinity with all that is happening. So here I'm already seeing that white light being split into its component colors by this. You are always able to take anything further, to follow things out beyond boundaries and limits, synchronized with multidimensionality, coming upon the future everywhere, blown so wide open that all you can do is exclaim, marvel, and alternate between rapture and despair. That sounds positive. High strung and wildly strung, engaged with all the outstanding possibilities. So the North Node is still saying to us, you've got all this stuff to look at. And so that Venus in Scorpio is going, yeah, but it's annoying me. And the full moon is going, yes, and that one you like.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that that's fair? But again,
I wouldn't say that, but that one you like, because the moon is not pointing out. I know I said it's opening up the path, but it's more of an alluring kind of sense. It's calling out to us, and we don't know exactly what it is yet. And that's the factor that we need to take into consideration, because the faith factor, the plunging into darkness willingly factor it's mentally important here. You have to make that choice consciously.
That answers my next question then, because as I say, everything is that we'd said so far until we got onto Mercury retrograde has implied an immense amount of clarity.
Yeah.
But that full moon is right next to Neptune. And Neptune can cloud issues a little bit.
Yes.
But again, I like the dissolving nature of Neptune being applied to this, because you're hopefully dissolving those things that are irritating you and you're getting rid.
Yeah.
But how
there is a confusion element to Neptune, but I think that the mastery of this energy comes when you are not afraid of that confusion. Then you will not be led by the trying to avoid your fears kind of confusion. You're going to be led by, oh, how interesting, I don't know what that is. Let me embrace it. Let me see how it is. And that excitedness is favored right now. And it's good for you to be able to leave behind whatever is not good for you. You see that sextile between Pluto as well, in Uranus and Neptune, and the full moon. To me, is talking about how that is just going to allow us to take things to the end and to take things So for those of you who are Whovians, I want to use this particular reference because it's perfect. I think it fits amazingly. Why? Because you'll know that in the next generation, in the new generation since 2005, not so new now, is it? But you have But you have this 4th to 5th season transformation that is unlike the previous transformations that happened in the first 4 series.
Yeah.
So you had David Tennant being the favorite doctor for a lot of people during 3 seasons, and he didn't want to go. He wanted to stay, and he tried to. He made things, and spoilers, but it's been 10 years if you've been behind it. Don't know what to tell you. But you have that sense of transitioning, but resisting transition, but knowing that it's necessary, knowing that it's important. And he didn't want to go, and he wouldn't let Rose go. He wouldn't let Martha go. He had to see all of them before the end, and he knew the end was coming. This is the feeling. This is the feeling right now. But the full moon is the moment where David Tennant becomes Matt Smith, finally. And then you can forget about Rose Tyler. You can forget about all of that. It's going to be referenced here and there, but it's the Pond era. And it's a completely different feel for all of the villains, for all of the things that are happening in the series. And for those who were accompanying it since the beginning in 2005 of the new generation, it was a complete shift. It was almost like it was another show in a way. Because all the other characters and arcs that we were used to, except for the quote unquote normal villains, were gone, and you had a clean slate to do whatever Doctor Who wanted to do from now on. It was still Doctor Who. You still recognize a lot of elements, but it felt completely different. And this is the feeling that we should experience at this moment. And
for those older Whovian fans amongst you, that's very similar to the Peter Davison to Colin Baker transformation as well, which was quite abrupt.
Yeah. Is it the one with Sarah Jane?
No, that was Tom Baker.
Right, okay.
It was the one after that, and then the one after that again.
Okay.
Right, back to the astrology, because we're wandering off into geekdom there. Is there anything else that you want to pull out of this chart?
No, I really liked everything that we've covered, and I think we've talked about everything, really.
I've got one last thing that basically I want to add to point it out, but I'm not saying that I understand it. Now, as I say, if the full moon is occurring at night for you, you have this double rulership of the Goetic spirit Andromalius. Now, interestingly, in the daytime, there's another double rulership of the aspect between the sun and the moon, because the sun is in Stolas's arc and the moon is in Stolas's decan by day. So again, there's this double whammy feeling. But having read as much as I can, I still can't quite figure out what that is symbolizing, but I will tell the viewers what Stolas is about. He is described in the Lemegeton as a great and powerful prince, appearing in the shape of a mighty raven at first, before the exorcist, but after he taketh the image of a man. So with the raven, there's that wisdom coming in. He teacheth the art of astronomy and the virtue of herbs and precious stones. So the astronomy and the herbs, whoosh, not a clue. But I do like that raven imagery.
The astronomy, I do think that's connected to astrology as well, you know, the secrets of the stars.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just saying that Stolas is telling us to watch videos about the full moon. So, but I do like the idea of imparting that wisdom, whereas Andromalius was imparting the energy through holding that great serpent. Stolas is giving us the promise of some wisdom. So he's not, he doesn't deliver the wisdom as such in that form, but it's saying wisdom this way, come this way. So that again, there's that image of, yeah, it's like you said, you know all the things that you don't want, and the glimmer of what you might want is there.
Yes, yes. Its purpose is to allure you, because it's trying to show you the value of following your dreams. It's trying to show you how you follow your dreams. So it's not about getting there this time. It's about the climb. It's all about the climb. No, I'm joking. Yeah.
Right. So, well, that's it, isn't it? Rebirth, regeneration, and don't be disappointed when things fall apart. That sounds so positive, doesn't it? Now, when we first discussed this, we were going to call this video "The Good Times Are Over," weren't we? But we sound like we're being a lot more positive about this now.
It's what came through, really, because this is a conversation, and we have input elements that we hadn't talked about previously that gave us this new perspective on the possibilities of this chart. So yeah, because we generally get together to discuss the full or new moons once before we actually sit down and record, but we don't cover everything that we're going to talk about. We just come up with themes that we are seeing, try to see the aspects so we can develop more when you come here to the video.
And we may have discussed this one a little bit more, considering it's right on top of my natal sun.
Yes, but it was more specific.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I think it's going to be good. You know, I don't believe everything you read on the internet. I looked up what it is when you have a full moon on your natal sun, and it didn't read well. Right. So what projects you got coming up, David? How's the website?
Well, what?
How's the website going?
Yeah, it's really nice, actually. I've been I'm trying to work on a few more texts. I'm trying to work on how I'm going to post on my blog. I always post these videos there. If you want to follow it, feel free. It's in the first place, astrology.com. That's my website. You can look for me on Instagram as well, on Facebook. Yeah, and that's it.
Right. So I want to give a quick plug to our friend Spencer, because he has a live stream coming up. I think it's Sunday night. He did send out an email of a new time, but I don't have it to hand at the moment. But go and check out his channel, Spencer Michaud Astrology, where you can hear him talk about the diamonds and the tarot symbolisms and the decans that are involved with this full moon from a slightly different point of view from where we've come from. Other than that, stay tuned. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy this one. I think that's a really important part, because whatever it is that's going on here, that whole image of, was it not Elemis? Elemis, who's revealing those messages of divine love in everything. Whatever happens with this full moon, there has to be some aspect of you that is able to enjoy it, whatever that means, because that's the way you will see your way through.
Make the effort. Yeah.
Okay, so in which case, as ever, like this video if you thought it was good. Feel free to share, subscribe, definitely subscribe. It helps YouTube know that we exist. Other than that, go on.
If you activate the little bell, you're going to receive the notifications every time we put out this new and full moon video. So if you want to follow up with that, just activate that little bell button there.
Hopefully you will get to know. I will be doing a collective Gods at Play reading for this full moon, since it's such a doozy. And otherwise, stay tuned for that, and we will see you all later. Cheers.